Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new video on my 2023 Hyundai Elantra SEL Convenience. Today I'm going to be sharing with you how to install a new exhaust on the car and also share with you the process of doing it. So if you heard, the exhaust is quite a bit louder. You know, in this car, it is dead quiet. When you have the exhaust, it's just a lot of extra weight and it just really makes the exhaust quiet. You don't really hear any of the engine. And a lot of that is on purpose because this car isn't really meant to be very loud. But as like a car guy that likes cars, I want to hear something when I'm pressing my foot on the pedal. So I ended up getting a universal exhaust. There aren't really any for this Elantra specifically. They do have some for the N line and the N. However, on the SEL, the SE, and the Limited, they don't really have any exhausts that are meant for this car. So I ended up getting just this universal back muffler, and it was quite a process to get it down. You don't need a weld for this. However, you do need to cut off parts of your exhaust, which is a little bit scary at first, but basically my friend and I, we ended up jacking up my Elantra, and what we had to do was find out and measure how much space we needed to have the Elantra set up with the new exhaust. So we found that the stock exhaust was quite a bit longer than the new exhaust. So we had to go to the auto store to pick up a longer piece of steel pipe. And that's what helps push the exhaust a little bit further in your car so that it's not dumping exhaust right underneath your car. And this gives it room to escape. So you are going to want to pick that up along with the exhaust that I have down below. It's the Evil Energy Universal. It has a lot of good reviews from other cars. If you don't want to go with that one, feel free to check out your own, but that's just the one that I use personally on my car, and it works pretty well. Next, you're gonna have to figure out where to cut the pipe, and I would recommend cutting right at the curve at the top of the Elantra, and I would also recommend making sure that you leave enough room in case you do need to add the old exhaust back if you end up selling this car. If you don't change the exhaust, that could really change the value of your car if you sell it or trade it in. So make sure you have enough room back there so that you're able to put on the old exhaust when you want to sell it. So once you find out how much room you need, that's when you're going to cut it. And you don't need to cut it on the car. There's actually some clamps that are right by the axle that you are going to remove. And I do want to have as much footage of the day when I was filming this, so I apologize if it's a little bit around the place or you're having to see me. If you look at your Elantra and you listen to my voice, you will find out what I'm talking about. There is a little clamp that has a gasket inside of it with 2 bolts on the side, and you're going to remove that and then lift that over the axle and take that out of the car. There are also going to be 2 hangers that are rubber gaskets holding in the back of the exhaust, and you're going to want to remove that. Using a gasket tool remover helps a lot, but if you don't have that, put some WD-40 in there and it should slide out. Now, once you get that off, you're going to cut where you marked the spot for the exhaust to go in. So you're going to cut that with a metal saw. It is pretty thick metal, so it will take a little bit of time. But once you get through, make sure you sand it off so that it's a clean cut and that no metal goes around and it's just stuck in there. So make sure you clean that off. Next, you're going to attach the pipe that you're adding to the exhaust. And you're also going to want to cut that down as well, just to make sure everything lines up and it's the right size to fit in the back of your Elantra. Once all that is done, you're going to want to clamp on using universal exhaust clamps. And the exhaust is 2 inches on this car. So you're going to want to use these 2-inch exhaust clamps to go around it. And you're going to want to tighten down those as tight as you can. And that way no sound and no exhaust will leak out through those. So we're clamping on the exhaust with the extender really quick, and then we're gonna take these off and then kind of hear what it sounds like with both and decide which one's best before we weld on the bracket. That's really important because you don't want an exhaust leak. It really reduces the performance and the sound of your exhaust. So once all of that is clamped down and you are all good to go, you are going to add an extra hanger to your exhaust. So a couple ways about doing this is getting a universal exhaust hanger pin, and that's going to go inside the exhaust hanger, and then it's going to wrap around your new exhaust. There are some that clamp onto the exhaust, but my friend and I ended up welding it on, which is not necessary at all, but it just did help, and that was really helpful when we were installing the exhaust. Now, once all of that is installed, you're going to put the pins back on and then completely clamp down steel pipe to the stock exhaust on the car. And you are going to have to tighten that down a lot because you really want to make sure it is very tight and very strong on there. And then that's about it. I'd recommend testing it a couple different times, and you're just going to want to make sure that nothing happens like that, because you really want to make sure that the exhaust is just completely coming out the back. Now, one thing that I would recommend as well is adding a downpipe, which I bought but I didn't want to use. They are a little bit more expensive, but I didn't do it, and it ended up melting some of the back of my plastic on my Elantra, which is not good if you want to resell it. It's just it's just a little melted piece on the back of my car, which isn't good. So yeah, having a downpipe helps a lot to prevent that and the heat and stuff. So that is how you do it. It's pretty simple. A lift obviously helps, but you can just use cheap jack stands to lift up the back of your car and install it, or go to a professional and they would finish the job in a matter of like an hour. This install wasn't that hard, especially if you're getting like a 2021, 2022, or 2023 Elantra, just because like they shouldn't have that much rust on the car compared to a car that's like 10, 20 years old. So yeah, it's very easy to do, and I really recommend it if you want to have a little bit more oomph when you're driving. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. Peace.